the chronicles of ancient history, the cataclysmic downfall of Queen Jezebel emerges as a resounding declaration of the inexorable power of divine justice. Her name, forever entwined with idolatry, corruption, and unbridled rebellion, serves as a stark warning to every generation daring to defy the eternal laws of God. Step into a world where human ambition clashes with sacred decree, a realm where the arrogance of power invites a wrath that no mortal can withstand. As the forces of divine retribution converge, the tragic saga of Jezebel unfolds with relentless intensity. Every moment of her storied life is a testament to the inevitable collapse of those who forsake truth and faith in pursuit of transient glory. Prepare to witness a narrative where pride meets punishment, and every act of defiance against the eternal order reverberates with the might of God's judgment. Let this story ignite your spirit and provoke deep reflection. No transgression, however cunning, can escape the relentless force of divine justice. In the ancient city of Jezreel, a place steeped in history and divine destiny, the fateful day arrived when Queen Jezebel met her ultimate demise. On this day, the forces of divine justice converged with the ambitions of mortal men, marking an irreversible turning point in the saga of idolatry and moral decay. For countless generations, her name had been etched into the annals of history as a byword for manipulation, corruption, and the seductive lure of Baal worship, a perversion that led many of the Israelites astray from the path of righteousness. Every stone in Jezreel seemed to echo the impending doom as dark clouds gathered overhead, symbolizing the inescapable judgment that was about to be rendered. In the whispers of the wind and the murmurs of the gathered crowd, one could almost hear the solemn decree of divine retribution calling out to all who had lost their way. The life and reign of Jezebel transcended the confines of mortal existence, transforming her into a timeless emblem of unrepentant rebellion against the divine order. Over the years, her legacy became a stark warning, a reminder that the seduction of power through idolatry and the defiance of sacred law leads only to catastrophic downfall. Ancient scriptures, including the revered Book of Revelation, recount how figures resembling her spirit seduced believers into immorality and stray practices, ensuring that her name would forever serve as a cautionary tale for future generations. Her story, passed down through generations around flickering campfires and in the hallowed halls of prayer, urged the faithful to steer clear of the treacherous path she once trod. Let these words be a solemn reminder that every act of defiance against God carries an inevitable cost. At the heart of Jezebel's infamous legacy lay the brutal act committed against Naboth, a humble man whose loyalty to his ancestral heritage stood in stark contrast to the rampant greed that pervaded the royal court. When King Ahab coveted Naboth's vineyard, it was not mere desire for land, but an embodiment of a deeper, corrupt ambition that sought to undermine the natural order ordained by God. Jezebel saw this as a prime opportunity to further her nefarious schemes. With calculated malice, she orchestrated a plot to falsely accuse Naboth of blasphemy against both God and the crown. The ensuing trial was nothing short of a travesty, a sham in which truth was sacrificed at the altar of manipulation and moral bankruptcy. When Naboth was condemned and executed, his desperate cries for justice were silenced by the clamor of those intoxicated by power, and his vineyard was seized as a prize in a corrupt transaction. This heinous act ignited the flames of divine judgment, setting into motion a sequence of events that would forever alter the destiny of Israel. The memory of Naboth endures as a beacon of the sanctity of justice and a warning against the abuse of authority. Before the full darkness of Jezebel's reign could engulf the kingdom, the prophet Elijah emerged as a luminous beacon of truth, declaring a solemn warning to those who dared defy God's immutable law. With unyielding conviction and piercing clarity, Elijah pronounced that such treachery, a betrayal of both justice and the sacred covenant, would not go unpunished. His words thundered across the land, foretelling that the shadow of divine judgment would soon envelop the house of Jezebel. Though the fulfillment of this prophecy might seem delayed by the frailties of human ambition, every soul in Israel felt the weight of this promise, knowing that the scales of justice would eventually balance. These prophetic declarations served not only as a warning, but also as an invitation to repentance, a call to realign oneself with the eternal truths of God. In a stunning reversal of fate, Elisha, the devoted successor to Elijah, anointed Jehu as the new king of Israel, heralding the dawn of a decisive purge against the forces of corruption. Jehu's ascent was more than a mere change in leadership. It was the very manifestation of divine will, a relentless force determined to excise the malignant influence of Ahab's lineage. His inaugural act was as swift as it was ruthless. Without hesitation, Jehu struck down King Joram, casting his lifeless body into the very vineyard that had witnessed the bloodshed of Naboth, a potent symbol of retribution that resonated throughout the land. This dramatic upheaval signaled the imminent end of an era steeped in idolatry and corruption. The faithful rejoiced as the long-awaited hand of divine justice began its righteous work, purging the nation of its deep-seated evils. Every victory of Jehu was a clarion call that no sin, however entrenched, could escape the inevitable reckoning of God. As the inexorable tide of justice surged forth, Jezebel, even in the face of imminent annihilation, refused to cower. Draped in the vestiges of her once mighty power, she chose to confront her destiny with a defiant arrogance that bordered on hubris. Instead of retreating into the shadows, she boldly positioned herself at a lofty window, her eyes locked on the approaching forces of Jehu, her voice laced with scornful defiance. Her mocking words, rich in bitter irony, challenged the very foundation of the rebellion that now sought to dismantle her reign. Yet, this bold act of defiance was the final nail in her coffin, a testament to the fact that even the most obstinate spirit cannot escape the decree of divine judgment. In that moment of brazen insolence, the weight of prophecy pressed down upon her, sealing her tragic fate. The echoes of her defiance serve as a perpetual reminder that no amount of worldly pride can withstand the all-encompassing power of God. The climax of this relentless saga arrived in a cataclysm of violence and despair. In a moment that obliterated all remnants of mercy, Jezebel was unceremoniously cast from the window. Her descent was a maelstrom of chaos, a final, brutal punctuation to her storied reign, as her body shattered upon impact, scattering remnants of her former glory into the annals of infamy. Ravenous dogs, agents of the divine curse, descended upon her remains, devouring every trace of the queen who had once commanded such fear and reverence. Even when Jehu later commanded that her remains be accorded a royal burial, the efforts yielded nothing more than disjointed fragments, a skull, scattered hands and feet, each a stark testament to the obliteration of her legacy. This catastrophic end not only fulfilled the dire words of Elijah, but also imprinted upon the hearts of all that defiance against God brings only ruin and despair. Every shudder of the earth bore witness to the inexorable nature of divine justice. In her final moments, the echo of her fall resonated throughout the realm, as the anguished cries of the oppressed testified to divine justice. The tragic tale of Jezebel transcends the confines of history, offering a lesson that remains as potent today as it was in ancient times. Her relentless pursuit of power through idolatry and corruption ultimately led to an end marked by unimaginable cruelty and divine retribution. This narrative implores every soul to recognize that the allure of power without integrity is a treacherous path, a journey destined for inevitable ruin and despair. Reflect deeply upon this legacy. While the instruments of justice may seem distant amid the mire of moral decay, they are ever present, ready to restore balance when transgressions spiral beyond redemption. Jezebel's downfall stands as an eternal admonition, a solemn promise that God's law is unyielding and that every act of rebellion against the divine order exacts a grievous toll. As we trace the echoes of this ancient catastrophe, we discover that the lessons embedded in her fate extend far beyond a distant past. Every compromise of humility or surrender to fleeting ambitions is met with the unrelenting force of divine reckoning. In today's world, where the seduction of power and material gain often blinds us to our spiritual duties, Jezebel's story serves as an unwavering beacon, urging us to choose the path of righteousness over the perilous promises of corruption and self-aggrandizement. Let this legacy inspire us to remain vigilant, for the timeless truths of God are not bound by history, but live on as a clarion call to every generation. In the quiet aftermath of these tumultuous events, we are called upon to scrutinize our own lives with a discerning heart. The legacy of Jezebel is not merely an account of ancient transgressions. It is an enduring beacon, urging us to embrace humility, integrity, and an unwavering commitment to faith. As we ponder the gravity of her fall and the monumental force of divine justice, let us ask ourselves, are we living in harmony with the eternal principles of righteousness, or have we allowed the fleeting allure of power and corruption to lead us astray? May our souls find solace in the wisdom of God and in the promise of redemption. Let us join in fervent prayer. Almighty Lord, grant us the strength to shun the snares of idolatry and corruption, and empower us to walk the path of justice and truth. May your boundless grace sustain us, and your divine guidance illuminate our journey away from pride and immorality. In these trying times, the lessons of ancient transgressions are more relevant than ever. The voice of God calls us to rise above the transient lures of modern temptations and to build a life grounded in unwavering faith and resolute integrity. Every heart must open to the clarion call of righteousness, and every soul must seek the sanctuary of divine wisdom. We stand at a crossroads where our choices echo into eternity. Let us choose the path illuminated by truth and justice, and allow our lives to reflect the eternal light of God's love and guidance. The story of Jezebel does not end with her brutal demise. It lives on as a timeless lesson for all ages. Today, as modern society grapples with its own challenges of corruption, manipulation, and moral decay, this ancient narrative shines a piercing light on the consequences of forsaking God's eternal laws. In every corner of our troubled world, the echoes of divine justice resound, a call for accountability, and a reminder that the pursuit of power without integrity leads only to desolation. The lessons embedded in this harrowing tale urge us to examine our actions, to stand resolute in the face of temptation, and to champion the cause of justice and truth in our communities. May the legacy of Jezebel inspire us to build a future where faith and righteousness prevail over the transient allure of worldly ambition. As we confront the complexities of modern life, let this story serve as both a warning and a beacon, a call to elevate our spirits, to seek out divine wisdom, and to embrace a life anchored in humility and faith. Together, as a community of believers, let us vow to uphold these timeless values, ensuring that the spirit of divine justice continues to guide us toward a more righteous and compassionate future. May the lessons of Jezebel and the relentless power of God's retribution remain etched in our hearts, propelling us to act with conviction and to stand unwaveringly in the light of truth and faith. If this story resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth explorations of history. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.